Hello and thanks for joining me for another video. Today I'm over at Llyn Crafnant. I'm going to have a walk around the lake, do a bit of a dog leg out to Crimpiau, one of the hills in the background. It's a cold spring day. Let's see what wildlife we can find. It's that typical kind of last week of March naturalist problem, which is where you're going to go for a really enjoyable walk. It's that kind of time of the year where the woodland isn't awash with colour. There's a few woodland flowers out, but not that kind of a mass of colour that you get when the wild garlic's out, the lettuce celandine, the wood anemone. We'll do that in a few weeks. We'll do a nice woodland walk then. The spring migrants aren't fully in. Some butterflies are out, but it's not kind of butterfly weather today. It's about 4 degrees. So it's a little bit awkward time of year. The first video we did of this Walks and Wildlife series in the Rinogs, I remember discussing the same issue, which is it's a really awkward time of year. So we might not find anything. I'm one of those people that I like planning everything. It's like, I know I'm going to see this, I know I'm going to see that, etc. And I genuinely have no idea what we're going to find, which is kind of, I could be saying this, get home and it's like there's no video because I didn't find anything. But it's also quite exciting because I genuinely have no idea what we're going to find, which is always nice. Means I have to keep my eyes out a lot more though to make sure there's something to film. So yeah, but also I wanted to come here because it is a nice walk. There's some nice views from the hill we're going to. It's not a big hill. If you're one of these people that are worried about walking in the hills or you think you're not fit enough, etc., this is a nice walk to test your stamina, what you can do out, because Crimpiau is only 450 odd meters. It's kind of doesn't even factor in the scale of things compared to the other mountains around, but you get some lovely views from up there. So yeah, like I say, no idea what we're going to find. Let's just enjoy it, shall we? I've just spotted this larch. I know, how do I do it? How amazing. Spotting trees is definitely my forte. They can be quite tricky, but I've got my eye in. No, what I'm trying to say is there's that larch at this time of the year is a tree really worth seeking out to have a look at because it is a flowering plant. I often have to remind people that on winter tree ID courses or summer tree ID courses that trees are just flowering plants. They have as much in common with dandelions and daffodils and things like that. And some trees produce really showy flowers. Horse chestnut produces wonderful candelabra kind of flowers in summer. Cherry trees famously produce abundance of wonderful flowers. Oak, birch, sycamore, they all do, but they're a little bit less impressive, shall we say. And they can almost go totally unnoticed until you kind of have a look. And our coniferous trees, they still produce flowers as well. And again, some more obvious than others. And larch produces wonderful bright pink flowers at this time of the year. You have the male flowers and the female flowers and the different, one being bright pink and one being much smaller and just like a little yellow button. And this is what eventually turns into the cones. It's a glorious thing to look for at this time of the year. And larch is being absolutely decimated. It's not a native tree. We have a number of larch trees. We have European larch, Japanese larch, and Dunkeld larch, which is a hybrid between the two, often used in forestry. And there's a disease that affects them that we're worried might jump to oak, in which case it really will hit the fan. So we're getting rid of lots and lots of our larch plantations are being cut down. So it's also a deciduous coniferous tree. So we split our trees into two. Deciduous has leaves and drops them in autumn. Coniferous has needles and are evergreen. But this has needles but drops them in autumn. So at this time of the year it starts producing its fresh green growth as well. It looks absolutely glorious. So yeah, if you're out and about at the moment, make a beeline for some larch trees, see if you can see the bright pink flowers. I've just had the most wonderful hour bird watching probably this year, and it's nothing rare, it's long-tailed tits, but I found two nests very quickly, one after the other, not very far apart along the edge of the path in some brambles, and just as I'm walking along, the long-tailed tits carrying nest material land right at the side and just go, basically revealing exactly where the nest is. So I've been spending some time photographing them. The great thing with long-tailed tits this time of the year is when they're nest building, they really don't care about people. You can be right next to the nest and they'll carry on building it. The other day I was with a group over in Salford, and the same thing happened. We were talking about something else. This long-tailed tit landed right next to us, building and what have you, just like it's almost going, excuse me, I've got work to do. Their nest is the most wonderful of structures. It's this ball of moss and lichen held together with spider's web, often put in something sharp, like a bramble bush, hawthorn, gorse, that kind of thing. You sometimes get them just on boughs of trees and things like that, and they look really weird. They're almost like blankets rather than a ball. And it's interesting that historically in my native kind of Greater Manchester, long-tailed tits didn't breed in the kind of 60s and 70s. They were rare winter visitors. And when you see the structure of the nest being made with lichens, you understand why they didn't nest. Is because in the Industrial Revolution we wiped out loads of our lichens, and then as the Clean Air Act came into force and then time passes and these lichens start to come back, the long-tailed tits have the material to build their nest, because whenever I see these nests, it's always the same type of lichens they use. It's always the kind of the bluish grey parmelias, things like that. You never really see them use the xanthorias, the yellowy kind of ones. And it is just the most wonderful of structures. It takes them about a month to build, and both birds are building at this time. Building it. They're visiting it. While I was filming, there was one pair that had a kind of half-completed nest. You know, it's still more of a cup than a full ball. One of the other ones, it was a ball with a little hole in the top that allows the birds in and out. And yeah, so they're at different stages. But they're little glorious. They're just flying right in front of you, landing, and it's that kind of acceptance, that wonderful connection you can have with wildlife, where this is quite an intimate moment and they don't mind you being there. As soon as they have eggs or chicks, it's a whole other story. You have to give them space. You have to kind of back off. But these birds, if they weren't happy, they won't be built. Every 2 minutes they were coming back with some more bits to kind of add to the nest. It's understanding the bird's behaviour and whether you're too close or not. The fact that they're just building right at the side of the path anyway means they're pretty long-tailed tits are always quite tolerant. There are some species of bird you could never get that kind of close to and never easy to find, but long-tailed tits are a great one. But importantly, we're going to record that nest, well, both nests, because even though when you mention birds' nests in this day and age, people think, oh, dark, seedy things, stealing eggs, etc. No, we should still record nests. If you find them, we document them, because it's important to know, are birds breeding in a certain area? If they are, great, we can do something to help improve that, protect their habitat. If not, why not? Why aren't they breeding? What can we do to enhance it? Are they breeding earlier? Are they breeding later? Are they being successful? Are they not being successful? Are there more pairs, less pairs? Are they being predated? If so, by what? Are the eggs successful? Are they getting chicks off? So many questions we need answers to, that we can help protect these birds. And so long as you do it in an ethical, understanding the bird's behaviour, what you can do, what you can't do, try not to disturb it, all that kind of thing. There's guidelines on the BTO's website, the British Trust for Ornithology, that you can follow. So you can always kind of have a look at that. But yeah, dancing around in front of me, long-tailed tits, absolutely glorious. Yeah. Probably best bird watching experience of the year so far. And I've already seen bufflehead and lesser yellowlegs in Wales this year, so that's quite a statement. But yeah, I love long-tailed tits, they're fabulous. I've just had another wonderful bird encounter. We're never going to get to the top of the hill if this keeps happening. Osprey. Just as I'd finished doing the long-tailed tip piece to camera, walked along the path, saw a bird in the distance and thought, you look a bit big, bigger than a buzzard, and drifted over. Osprey, probably fresh in from Africa for all I know. And I thought I was going to fish, didn't, just kind of meandered through. And at this time of the year, there are some ospreys already back on territory. Historically, they used to kind of, in the UK, you'd have to go up to Scotland to see them. We do have breeding populations in North Wales now, neither of them really close to exactly where we are today. However, they're being successful in North Wales, so their youngsters will have to go somewhere. So that might be one of the youngsters from somewhere in North Wales who's kind of thinking about setting up his own territory and kind of scouting out the area and going, yep, looks good, or no, not suitable. Or it could just be one from, if you're breeding up in Scotland and you're coming from Africa, you've got to fly over certain areas, and often ospreys will look for distinctive landmarks, and well, Snowdonia has some quite distinctive landmarks, and then calling off and trying to fuel up as well, and it might look and go, not really worth it here, or whatever. But there's a few other kind of bodies of water around, so it might scout them out as well. Oh, lovely. Did not get any really good footage, I'm afraid. It was so fleeting, kind of by the time I'd kind of clocked it was an osprey and got the camera out, it was just a case of get a few shots, some stills, and then by the time I'd done that, it was kind of getting too far away to video. There was no point. But, oh, lovely. Yeah, like I say, we're not going to get up this hill if we keep having all these bird things. Was not expecting to be talking about so many birds on this walk. I thought it was going to be all lichens and mosses and things, but yeah, see what else we can find. I'm just at the start of the climb up to Crimpiau now, and already got lovely views over Llyn Crafnant. Around the other edge of the lake, on the way here, had crossbill, goldcrests singing chiff chaff. Can hear another long-tailed tit over here as well, which they've probably got a nest as well. So long-tailed tit's really loving it up here, even right in the foothills. Here, stunning views. In fact, if I swing you around, some glorious light coming up onto the hills there as well. So yeah, the sun's come out just to kind of blind me as we start our way up Crimpiau with a full laden camera bag, which should be fun. If all goes well, I'll see you at the top. I'm not far from the top now, and I've been looking for a few excuses to kind of stop and get a breather, mainly in the thighs, carrying that. There's a few little steep bits up this last bit, and there's not much about. There's lots of heather, but obviously it's the wrong time of year for that. A few stone shit about, but I've just found a lizard at the side of the path. I thought I heard a couple further down scurrying off into the undergrowth, and I've just got the camera just rolling on it now. He's not doing much. He's not the most interesting of video footage. But at this time of the year, it's a great time to encounter them because it's still quite cool. And even though they come out of hibernation, it's not really that warm. So they just spend the day kind of basking, trying to keep warm. And at that point, they're really not fussed by you. They don't think you can see them either. But this little lizard has obviously got an interesting past because he's missing his tail. And lizards can do that. They can, to evade a predator, they can get rid of the tail. And the predator goes, oh, I've got it. And obviously the lizard then runs off to live another day. But without its tail, the predator thinks it's got the lizard, etc. It will regrow it, but they're usually a little bit stuntier and shorter than what they would be naturally. But it is quite an effective defense mechanism. So, yeah, I'm going to spend a few more minutes with him to appreciate him and definitely not let my thighs recover while we do the last kind of 25 meters up to Crimpiau. Yeah, we'll have a look at the views. So we've made it to the top. Crimpiau is not a massive hill, it's only 475 metres. It does offer you some great vistas though of the other kind of mountain ranges around. But if you're a bit like me and you're not sure how fit you are for getting up in the mountains, if you're carrying a load of camera gear, it's a good gauge of a test. It's not the most strenuous of walks. There's a few little kind of almost like steps going up, but other than that it's pretty straightforward. Raven cronking away just over here. You might be able to see it, probably not. But glorious views over to the Gliders and the Carnethi. So you've got mountains like Trivan with its kind of dinosaur-like back ridge. Penny Alwyn in the distance over there. We're going to head over there in a few months to go and look for a really rare lichen. So you can look forward to that. Just looking up the Ogwen Valley over there, you've got kind of Snowdon, which is the little bit of cloud over the tops of Snowdon. So the cloud levels are below 1,000 metres because Snowdon's over 1,000. Llyn Crafnant and Moel Shabod over there, which if you watched the last video about the hazel gloves from Capel Cerrig, you'll know Moel Shabod. You would have seen it loads on the video. And basically we've come to this roughly the same area where the hazel gloves were. It's just down there, but we're coming out from the Llyn Crafnant side, which is down there. You can see where I'm set up with the camera. Yeah, so we haven't come, in terms of as the crow flies, we're not very far at all. The car park is just at the far end of the lake there. The RAF are out in force as a Chinook just landed on one of the hilltops up there, or looking like it's trying to land anyway. Yeah, so it's a little bit noisy, but yeah, I'm going to get some photos of some of these mountains, have my lunch, and then think about meandering back. I'll see you shortly. Two things coming down the hill. The first one, I had a sand martin flying over me, which was weird because as it flew past, it was kind of heading towards the snowy mountains, and that's going to have a real shock coming from Africa, getting here and through, and maybe turned up a little bit too early. But that was nice to see, another migrant after our Osprey. And then I've just found Stag's Horn Clubmoss. Now, bear with me, Stag's Horn Clubmoss is not a moss. It is also not a true flowering plant. It's in a limbo world of vascular plants. They're kind of their own thing. They're much more closely related to ferns. And it looks quite unassuming, looks mossy, but also kind of a bit like a little pine tree trying to get growing, little sapling kind of thing. They're weird, they're ancient. So we know there were kind of club mosses around 400 million years ago. So these things are kind of, they've been around a long time and know what they're doing. It's not producing the kind of the spore growth where it produces these erect stag's horn like growth. It's just doing its kind of, you know, just the leaves at the minute, spreading out over the rock, trying to get across the path as well. It's kind of people trampling all over it. Shows how hardy it is. You've got to be a hardy kind of plant to live up here. So it's just nice. See, I thought I'd share that with you because I remember growing up looking through flower books, and you get to the kind of the back of the book where it's all the kind of the weird stuff, you know, club mosses, ferns, the kind of the weird plants. And I always looked at club mosses and thought they're weird, you know. And this is the kind of environment up in the uplands, you know, where it's all heather and things like that, kind of the places that this Stag's Horn Club Moss likes to grow. So yeah, thought I'd share that one with you. But we're halfway down the hill. That's glorious now with the sun out. Yeah, see if there's anything else we can find. I'm back down along the lake now, just walking back towards the car, and I couldn't stop without telling you about bilberry. It's been one of the dominant plants on this walk. All around the woodland areas there's bilberry, up on the tops there's bilberry. It's a plant that you can find, you know, right down at low level, up to the tops of the mountains. And it is called bilberry. That's its proper botanical name. But depending from where you are in the country, you might know it by different names. So If you're in Scotland, for instance, you might know this as Whortleberry or Blaeberry. If you're from parts of Lancashire or Yorkshire, you might know it as Winberry, W-I-N, Whinberry, W-H-I-N, Wimberry, W-I-M, or Whimberry, W-H-I-M. There's lots of different local names for this. Bilberry's its proper one. It produces little tiny blueberries later in the year. Not too late though. It's one of the earliest fruiting kind of foragey fruits that if you wanted to go looking for fruits, this is out in kind of July. Some years late June. It's starting to bud now. It's got little pink flowers. Lower down and more on a kind of southern facing, kind of, you know, getting the sun. I imagine it will be in flower now, but along here it's just a little bit too early for the flowers to be fully out. They're just kind of little pinky buds of joy waiting to burst open, really. But yeah, I'd be interested to know where you're from, or roughly where you grew up, and what you know it as. I've always called it Bilberry, but my grandma was a Wimberry kind of person. Yeah, I once had a person, I was doing electron foraging, and one chap literally tried talking to me for 15 minutes about how the subtle differences between Bilberry and Wimberry. And it's the same plant. It's just the same plant, just by different names. So don't be like that person. Just, you can have different names for it, but it's the same plant. I wonder what he was foraging. That's the big question. Anyway, back to the car. This walk's been just what I needed today. It's been glorious weather, perfect for kind of these kind of walks. Some lovely views of the mountains, snow on the tops, but then some amazing wildlife along the way. The Osprey, a real highlight. So was the lizard, actually. That was just an absolute delight to kind of spend some time photographing and recording the long-tailed tit's nest. That's always a lovely treat. But it doesn't mean the things I'm showing you, these are the only things I've seen. There's been lots of other things I've been taking note of as I've been walking around, but we've also covered them in previous videos, some of them quite recent. So I don't want to kind of go over the same thing, but I've been seeing bracken map lichen, various lichens we've already discussed, glue crust on the hazels that we did in a few videos ago. You know, there's lots of supporting casts of interesting species, but I don't want to kind of go over the same stuff over and over and over every time we see it. My grandma always said to me when I was kind of learning about natural history growing up, learn one species a day, and by the end of the year you'll know 365 different species. And if you do that through the years, you'll know all sorts. And that's kind of what these videos are all about. It's kind of slowly but surely adding more things to your repertoire, so when you go for your walk you can keep an eye on these things. You might already know Osprey, long-tailed tit, things like that, but you might not know about larch flowers or the different names of bilberry, or or that long-tailed tits do build a nest exactly like that. And next time you go out you might just remember one of those things, and that's all that matters. But the more you kind of learn, the easier it gets, because you know it's not that, it must be this, that kind of thing. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Choice of videos, if you want, for next one, I've got two in mind for April. One is mountainous walk from Clubmoss up to Knicht. It's quite a long walk. That one I'll only take the GoPro and the mobile phone, because I don't imagine we'll do any bird kind of photography. It'll be lichens, mosses, but impressive views, good walk. It's kind of 13-14 kilometers, something like that, in quite interesting environment. The other one is spring wildflowers through a woodland, meandering walk, and kind of looking at all the kind of the wood anemones, the lesser celandine, wild garlic, all those kind of plants. So you can let me know in the comments which one you prefer to see first, and I'll make sure I film that. If no one says anything, dealer's choice, I'm afraid. I'll choose which one's next. It might be something totally different anyway. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this, if you can like and subscribe, it's free to do, doesn't cost you anything, really helps the channel out. You can comment on the bilberry, what you call it. Yeah, and I shall see you on the next one, wherever that might be. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.